evening, everybody, and welcome to a new mini-series that I'm going to be doing. This is going to be the first of several parts of videos basically discussing what my favorite 1022 accessories are. So I've had some pretty good success lately with my 1022 videos. I know it's a very popular firearm, so I have several of them. I have several accessories that go with them. Today is part 1 of my 1022 My Favorite Things episode. We're going to talk about magazines a little bit tonight. So I have a assortment of magazines here. I want to talk about the pros and cons of each one. Your standard BX1 10-round magazine. They work great. They're probably the best for accuracy and target shooting that I've found. You can get them for around 20 bucks, sometimes less than that if you buy 2 or 3 of them at a time, and they just work well. They're tried and true. They've been around forever. Has a rotary piece inside that's on a coil spring, and when you load the rounds in, it basically puts tension on it in this direction, and as you fire them, it indexes back to the beginning. So that's your standard 10-round magazine. They work great. I love them. These are actually tandem cross, double cross magazines, and basically what this is you buy the plastic housing, and you take 2 of these BX1 magazines. You take the screw out the end, pop the end cap off, pull the guts out, and you drop it in here, and this is what you end up with. So basically 2 10-round original Ruger magazines, BX1s, are inside of this, and this just goes right up in the mag well like you would a normal 10-round magazine. I can get it in there without looking. Now, these work really well. I like them a lot. The one thing I will say about them, because there's a little less bulk on these magazines than your standard BX1, sometimes when you push the release on them, they don't drop out very easily, and you have to like pull them a little bit. 9 times out of 10 they'll pop out, but I've found sometimes, depending on if you push it forward or push it back in the mag well like that, it took 2 tries to get it to drop out. They do still work well. I love these things. Again, when they're loaded up with 10 rounds in the bottom and you drop them out, they're always going to fall out. Sometimes you need to take them out gingerly and flip them around. Obviously, you don't want to just drop these on the ground or anything anyway, because they'll break. But these are about $11, $10 a piece for the plastic housing, plus 2 of the original magazines that you have to put in there. So, I mean, this in and of itself is about 30 bucks to set it up like this. But I really like the way these work. Now, moving on down the line, going back to my BX1 magazine, because they work so well, and sometimes you want more than 10 rounds, you can take 2 BX1 magazines, and you can get these little coupler pieces. Basically, it's like 2 base plates that screw together with a screw in the middle, and then it has a nut inside the middle of it sandwiched in there, and this little oblong-shaped piece has 2 hooks in it that catch in this area on the magazine. So basically, little plastic notch catches in here, you tighten the screw down, and it just holds the 2 magazines together. These work really well. I think these were $22 for 2 of these to basically make 2 double magazines. Bought them off eBay. They work well, and you don't have to take your magazines apart, you just bolt them together. They work great. So this, I actually prefer using the 10-round mags when I'm doing target shooting, because they seem to be a little bit less problematic. And again, if you're going to a 15-round magazine, obviously 2 10-rounders hold more than 1 15-round magazine. I apologize for clearing my throat. I'm fighting a cold here. Now, the 15-round magazines, they work great. They're a little bit finicky when it comes to certain types of ammo. I think the CCI AR tactical rounds that I had issues with these, or anything that's slightly longer than a standard round, or sometimes rounds that have flat noses on them, like your Winchester white box and the 333 and 555 rounds. But for going out and plinking, if you want to shoot a bunch of rounds rapidly, 15-round magazine or the BX25s, these work great. They function, the 15 and the 20s, they function the same. Sometimes you can get these for around $17 a piece or $20, and these you can get for sometimes like $45 to $50 for a 2-pack of those. So the BX25 magazines, BX15, they function all exactly the same. They're a lot of fun to shoot with, as long as you're not trying to do target shooting. Sometimes they have a little bit more malfunctions than the standard BX10s do. Now moving on down here to Butler Creek. These, I like the way these work. They basically have like a flat coil spring, or a flat, I don't know, it's kind of like it's just spring steel. It's a flat spring, runs all the way down the side in here, and it winds around this little peg, and it holds tension on it. So when you load the rounds in, basically stretches that spring out, and as it comes back up, it wraps up in the top of this thing. These work okay. The two differences that I can see between these and the BX magazines, the 25s and the 10s, the BX 25 has this little rib here, and this actually keeps it forward in the magwell. So it holds it forward a little bit like this in the magwell. It puts a little bit more tension on this front pin, which is what holds it in place. Because these don't have that pin on there, basically sometimes when you stick it in the magwell, I'll see if I can do it here, it goes in and it has a little bit of play in it, so it doesn't seem to fit in there quite as tightly as the BX25 magazines do. I don't know if it's really a problem. It doesn't seem to be. The other issue I have with one of these is when I load the rounds in, you can see how slowly that round comes back up. So for some reason, it's like the spring inside the magazine doesn't have quite enough tension on it. I don't know long term if it's going to loosen up or if it'll be an issue. It seemed like if I pushed the follower up and down a bunch of times, it actually got a little bit better. So I've only used these like once. They seem to work okay. Like I said, this one, I'm hoping that with the action of the gun cycling back and forth, everything inside will loosen up. There's not really a way to take these apart and clean them or lube them. The BX25s are nice because they have a couple of screws on them on the side that you can take apart and actually clean this and put it back together. So if you're going to go for a BX25 or Butler Creek, unless you get these considerably cheaper than the BX25s, I would go with the BX25s in my opinion. They're made by Ruger, for Ruger. They just seem to be a little bit better fit and finish, but who can say that that doesn't look cool? You can see all those nice 22 LR rounds in there. So that's all I'm going to do for today. First installment of my series on my favorite 10/22 accessories. I just wanted to talk a little bit about magazines today. Have a great night. God bless America. Keep plinking. Get out there and shoot whenever you can. Support your 2A rights. Have a great weekend from Cranky Gun Reviews.